I won't. I'll sit along with them. I feel like a real
Whoa.
executive in these chairs, huh?
Fancy.
Very fancy. Okay, so I want each one of you to introduce yourself, your company, and what you do, and tell us what you're going to kind of talk on.
Sure.
I'm going to ask questions, but basically what your expertise is going to be on the panel.
You
So
want me to
Sarah,
start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Sarah Ciociola. I am the paid media director for an agency called PCG Digital. We are a full-service digital marketing agency specifying in third-tier automotive. However, we're branching out to different sectors right now. So I would say about 85% of our clients are third-tier automotive, and then the other 15 are kind of outliers in other industries. Today, I'm going to be primarily talking all about TikTok and marketing to Generation Z, which I am super excited about. And I'm also excited to meet all of you.
Lisa Duty with Rocks Digital. We are a full-service digital marketing agency. I would say our specialty is building beautiful websites that also rank really well in search results. And I'm actually going to be talking today focused around the Google Business Profile. I know you might be thinking, what? Why is she on a social media panel? So I actually got my start in digital and social media in 2009. I've had a lot of strong opinions about it over the years, but we won't share those today.
I think we should share the strong opinions.
So I actually did social media maintenance for businesses for years and years. And so I actually have a strong distaste for it now.
Oh, great.
That is but I do think it's highly effective.
Yeah.
I really do. I just think that so many people have they think just put it on autopilot and they don't,
sure.
and it just doesn't work. You have to build a relationship.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's the problem is people just nowadays are just posting to post, which they've always done.
I'm Grace Duffy. I am the producer and co-host of Social Media News Live, which is a weekly live show and podcast on social media marketing. We creators, marketers, and I call it free consulting for me and for you. So anytime that I run into a problem, I just invite someone of that caliber to my show and talk to them about my problems, which are hopefully pretty general. I have a background in creating digital strategies and web content strategies for Restream, Social Media Examiner, Hilton Worldwide, and a bunch of brands. I've been in this industry for a very, very long time. I've been in this industry since it was called new media and influencer campaigns or blogger campaigns.
All right. And I don't know that I've ever introduced myself, but I am Chris with a K. O'Connor. I think I've come up here 2 days in a row and never introduce myself. I just assume you all know who I am. I apologize for that. And 2 years ago, I walked away from the garage door industry and started out on my own. So I'm not a newbie, but kind of a newbie. So I'm going to moderate this, and this is all interactive. So if you guys have questions, burning questions you want to ask, we want to hear your questions because that's what we're going to feed off of is your questions. But to get it started, Grace was kind enough to kind of throw a few questions in. So the first one I want to start with is, why is social media important for SEO or SEM? So who wants to start? Sarah, you're it.
With the agency perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think social media is important for SEO and SEM because integrated marketing is going to be the name of the game moving forward. I see a lot of our clients, especially in just a lot of small businesses, really hyper-focused on one piece of their digital marketing, and they fail to kind of connect the dots with their other pieces. So making sure that if you have a full-service digital marketing strategy, you are making it intertwined and connecting your social media to your SEO, to your SEM, to the content that you're putting on your website. If all of those don't match, the digital handshake that you are presenting yourself as on, whether it's social media or on your website or through a Google search is not going to be consistent, and your competitor that is consistent with those items are going to outshine you every single time.
So I think that social media definitely has its place. I think that it's important for building trust, which is kind of what Sarah is touching on without saying the word trust. I think it's also important for search engines, especially for Google, to see that you have some authority and influence on these other sites, kind of that social proof per se. I also So, and this is something I've said always, even in 2009 when I just focused solely on social media, is that, the purpose in social media is to get them to become a customer. But you have to do that by being social, of course, but you also want to take them to your website. So for me, it's also an important link building activity. Why it might not necessarily improve your rates in organic, it does in the long haul because you get click through and all that other kind of stuff that goes along with it.
Absolutely. And I'll build on that and say that it increases the longevity and the life cycle of your content you create. You spend all this time making videos. We talked about creating live video. Jeremy was up here yesterday talking about having this really great video strategy. Well, social media allows you to extend the life of this piece of content that you're creating through like repurposing, through finding new mediums for it. It's a important touch point for your clients as your customers. You're saying it's very important for building that brand recognition and increasing or enhancing your brand reputation.
So I have a question for Lisa. She's going to talk mostly about Google Business Profile. How many of you, for your clients, have Google Business Profile?
Thank goodness.
Okay. About what? Do you saw about 50%?
50, 75.
So I'm huge in Google Business Profile, and I have a clubhouse room every Thursday morning that we talk about strictly about Google Business Profile and how you should use it and why you should use it. So explain the importance of Google Business Profile so everybody understands that every business should have something going with their Google Business Profile and why.
So as many of you here, most of y'all are marketers, y'all understand that your business needs a Google Business Profile. That's all there is to it. Now, raise your hand here if you're familiar with it. That is, for those of you that are not, that's expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, right? And so my theory, and I have tested this, is that if you apply EAT to a business's Google Business Profile, then they're going to appear more often in the local pack. And the way you do that is, one, of course, an optimized Google Business Profile, obviously, right? But it's also about really building trust the long term, not just with reviews, but products and services and fleshing all of those items out. And I know, when you sell something tangible, like maybe you're a roofer, that's not really a tangible product. But at this point, Google is actually pretty acceptable with you adding your services as products. And so that's one of the things that we do at Rocks Digital is we actually build out custom graphics for each one of our client services, and we write keyword descriptions. And I mean, I can talk for hours on this. I love the Google Business Profile. We use UTM tracking, and once I have optimized the profile fully, and we use UTMs, I can actually see that while maybe the clicks don't convert to goal conversions on the site, but once that happens, they actually get more clicks on their main website link URL once they really optimize their profile. And so that's just, I could talk for hours on it, but that's just one bit of why it's so important for business. Right now I'm actually testing a theory. So I built, because we do sites, I built a really well optimized website. They did not pay me for ongoing SEO, but they have paid me just to manage their Google Business Profile. So right now I'm testing this theory that, hey, you've got a really good site, you keep continually putting up good posts and all that on an optimized profile to see if that really, what that does. We'll see 3 months from now if it really helps them rank, because if so, then a lot more people could just really flesh out a really good profile, and then maybe not if they don't have the budget for ongoing SEO.
Right. So sort of same question for you, Sarah, but TikTok wise. Why should you be in TikTok? Now I know we've got a big movie star in here for TikTok that will be speaking today, but why is TikTok so important? I mean, I'll say it in front of you all, I don't get it. And maybe it's because of my age, but I really don't get it. So explain why it's so important.
Yeah, sure. So I think the larger thing that we need to be thinking about as marketers when it comes to TikTok is not so much the platform, which yes is important, but what does the platform represent? The platform represents a shift in how people are consuming media, specifically younger millennials and Generation Z, right? So if we're not pivoting our marketing strategies to include advertising that is centric to these generations and really meeting them they are online, which is TikTok. It's not as much as Facebook. And then we can kind of go through the list of social channels that they're on and they're not on. We need to now just not be saying, okay, social media advertising. When I say social media advertising, everybody thinks Facebook and Instagram, and that's pretty much it. We need to start realizing that multiple channels are including, and this is a really diversified way to market. So yes, TikTok is important, and I'll get to that in my workshop, and I know we have another TikTok workshop this morning, but it's really about how is your small business, or even if you have a larger business, how are you catering your marketing to focus on Generation Z? What do they want to see? What do they want to feel? And what's important to them about deciding to shop or buy with you? That's really what TikTok represents to me as a marketer, and that's what, whether you are an agency or you're doing your own in-house marketing, that's what you really need to focus on moving forward for your social media advertising.
And absolutely, and I wanted to add, one of our questions is about organic. Is organic dead? And you read all these articles about organic is dead, organic doesn't work, whatever. And when you say that, you're thinking about Facebook and Instagram particularly, some of it a little bit of YouTube that has prioritized pay to play, right? But organic is alive and well on TikTok.
Yes.
There's so many things emerge, so many brands emerge, and you see so many other brands on there. Like one of my favorites is Duolingo, with their and it's just like, and you think like, okay, they seem like a very uptight brand, but then you see them on TikTok, you're like, okay, this is really funny. And HubSpot has been coming up with a lot of really funny, entertaining content, which seems different from their brand, but when you start watching, you're like, it's really not. It's just a different way of reaching it, and it's a place where they can reach that organic traffic and increase their visibility and recognition.
So, do any of you have any questions you want to ask so far, or do we continue? No hands yet? There's one.
Ask questions. I'm a live video person, so I thrive on questions. Being up here alone just being on stage is a little frightening.
So with TikTok, since it's relatively new, I'm looking for tools that allow me to, I'm a data analytics guy, so what tools are available that allow me to see what conversations are happening around the topics that are important to me and my clients, and kind of see the relevancy around those questions and answers and all that kind of stuff. From an analytics perspective,
Want me to take that? So I think, in terms of creating a TikTok strategy that's specific to you, but where people are asking the questions, you have to be active on the platform. So the first thing that I would recommend would just be to literally search exactly what you're looking for and see what's coming up and see what kind of questions people are asking and how people are answering them and how they're presenting you. And then in terms of measuring success, whether you're measuring that organically or measuring that through paid advertising, I truly believe as a marketer, and I know some people will probably disagree with me, but I really emphasize the point of measuring the success of where you're advertising in that measurement platform.
Yes.
So what a lot of people tend to focus on is Google Analytics, which I'm not saying is a bad measurement platform. Everybody who's a marketer is in Google Analytics. If you're not, you 100% should be. But the best marketers in the digital space use multiple forms of measurement to measure success. So if you're advertising on Meta, you need to be in the back end of Meta to really see the results of Meta advertising. If you're on TikTok, you really need to be in TikTok Ads Manager to measure that success. And then looking at Google Analytics and seeing it as a holistic view. Okay, here's where we rank for social traffic. Here's where we rank for paid traffic. Here's organic traffic. But really utilizing the TikTok Ads Manager and the TikTok platform to measure that success, whether it's organically or paid, is going to be very, very, very important, because TikTok is not owned by Google. Google doesn't own TikTok. So it's never going to be apples to apples. So really keeping it in the platform, measure that success, and looking at your data within the platform is going to be very important to the ultimate success and to make data-driven decisions to drive your strategy, moving forward.
And creating content that is specific to the platforms themselves, right? So there's not a one size fits all. Being a live video person, you take this. Fanny talked about this quite a bit yesterday, where you take one piece of content and you break it up into different pieces of content, but we're still making individual pieces of content for each specific platform, because each one does have its own culture, audience, and then before you even, we talk a lot about the touch points, right? The platforms themselves, like, you got to be on TikTok, or you got to be on Instagram, or whatever. But it all starts with the basics of what is your brand, what is your message, and who you're trying to and then setting up those goals for yourself. So success for me being on those platforms is going to be different for your client, or each of your clients, or different for you, right? And so when you're measuring success, it's what is that line for yourself? What is that measurement for yourself?
Well, and I think adding to what Sarah's actually saying is I think that no matter the platform, just like you said, just like with Google, with Google Business Profile, they have their own insights data you can leverage, but also you need to run it against your Google Analytics. So with any platform, I think it's about deciding what you want to measure. And just like I said, products, for example, I can actually correlate when I put them on a listing that link specifically gets me a lot of conversions, but I do know that whenever I add them, the main link in the profile, because I've used a UTM and I can look in GA, gets me more conversions the minute I do that. Right. So no matter the platform, I think it's about measuring and using their native things, and then also running it up against a tool like Google Analytics.
Absolutely.
Did that answer your question? Perfect.
Like, no.
Yeah.
Also, third-party tools that give you access. Like I know you can go on the platform, and I'm also speaking mostly from an organic perspective. So like the analytics available to me through paid tools on TikTok are much different than what I would want to see from an organic perspective. I just wonder if there are any good tools that would give me organic insight into the platform.
The tools themselves.
Not that I'm aware of
But still the tools themselves. Yeah. I mean, it really isn't. Yeah, it's very hard to break into that. Like,
at this point, there's just not one that really.
They're very greedy with their API. So greedy.
So I go up.
Oh, yeah. Can you guys talk about your content strategy for short form video? Like, where does that video come from? Do you guys talk to employees, try and get them to shoot video? Do you send a production company down there to shoot video? Is it influencer? Where does that video come from?
I've done all kinds. So I've done live video. We've done live video with hosts that were part of our influencer program. We've done the tutorials. We've done in-house, and so we'll create the longer video, and then from that, as I'm writing it, or as we're strategizing it, we do create those 30-second spots in each one, because as Jerry was saying yesterday, you try to keep it lively, like every 15 seconds. I used to say, like, you earn every 30 seconds with the last 30 seconds of their, and so when you think about things within those 30-second like pals or whatever, that's your short form content. And so taking one piece of long form content and then distributing it as different types of content, as audiograms, as posts, as images, as short form video, different short form video on each of the different platform short stories.
So it's about slicing and dicing. That's one of the things I always like to say. I even like to do that when I build out a big infographic. Slice it and dice it up into multiple pieces. Same thing with video, right? How many ways can you use that piece of content?
I saw some crazy stat that it was like from one live, like an hour-long live video that you don't have to do an hour-long live video, but you could create, I think it was like 1,100 pieces of content. It actually broke down, like you can do a Facebook story, a Facebook post, a Facebook video, you go live on Facebook, and then that's just Facebook. And then all the rest, right?
Yeah. You can even take a PowerPoint. I actually took a PowerPoint one time, and when I worked for another agency, and they actually built a PowerPoint. I took this stuff out of the PowerPoint that the CEO spent all that time on, and I literally made an infographic, a download. I mean, it ended up being like, after I cut up the infographic also, and a guide that got more leads, it was like 39 pieces of content. I mean, there's so many things that you can take with a piece of content and just think about all the creative ways you can use it.
The easiest thing is distributing as a podcast as well, like when you're doing a live show. But you also have to factor in the fact that people take in information different ways. Some people are more visual, some people are very tactile. Like, I'll do a live show and someone will be listening, doing something else, and they're taking it in as a podcast, right? And so you also have to create that content so that it reaches different people depending on how they want to receive information.
Absolutely. Go to the consumer with whatever you're doing.
I always think that's a big question in any platform is content. So I'm just curious because how many of you have heard or on Clubhouse? Well, not very many. That's interesting. Tell me, do you like Clubhouse or do you understand Clubhouse. Tell me what you think. Interesting. I know that I was not a fan. I will tell you, I was not a fan of Clubhouse because it reminded me of talk radio. And I'm not a talk radio fan. I know a lot of guys really like that talk radio sports programs and are always listening to that, but I'm not a talk radio fan. But I got hooked. I got, I have found that having a room on Clubhouse, it's Google Business Profile, and we started with a few people. We have over, I think, now 1,100, 1,200 people in our club, and it just kind of blows me away. We did this in the last year just by showing up on a weekly basis. So it's another avenue that I think that a lot of people should use. I'm not saying that you want to be on it 24/7 because you could. You want to attend everything that people are talking about, but there's some good stuff and there's not some great stuff. And I think that's with every platform, right? I mean, people produce good stuff and some people don't produce good stuff. So I was just curious. I wanted to ask that question to see how many people were on Clubhouse. And it doesn't surprise me. A lot of people don't even know about it. If you have any questions, come see me. I'm happy to talk to you about it. But
Are we allowed to ask the moderator questions?
Have you explored Twitter Spaces?
Not yet. Not yet. I was just reintroduced to that, so I have not tested that.
How many customers has Clubhouse got you?
Several actually.
That's what I wanted to, I
Yeah.
think that's a real testament, right?
Yeah.
It's getting you, if
Yeah.
it's getting you business, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what your goal is.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're starting a membership program, and
Cool.
we're going to do live audits of people's. I have two partners that I met on Clubhouse in this room that we've kind of are moderators, and we're really building a business from it, honestly. And they live in different parts of the country. One's in North Carolina, one's in South Texas, and I'm of course up here. So, and I didn't know either of them before Clubhouse. So it's amazing who you can meet on Clubhouse. It's very surprising,
So you
actually.
kind of found you a niche in that area. Because I
Yes.
was on Clubhouse at one point, honestly, just like all the other marketers. I was like, nah, I abandoned you, you know. But that's why I was asking. That's cool. So think about how you can
Yeah,
find your niche.
I mean, it's not for everybody, just like
That's cool.
Facebook, TikTok, obviously,
Exactly.
for me. But, you know, I mean, all the social media channels, it's not for everybody. You have to find what works for you or your clients or whatever. But I found Clubhouse to be beneficial when I really didn't think it would be. Yes, sir.
Interesting question. What is all y'all's philosophy? I'm curious to everyone on finding your audience on social. Do you do specific research, or do you just pray and see what works?
I can honestly say for our Clubhouse room, when people attend our Clubhouse room, we give them so much value to implement on their own profiles that they invite all their friends and business owners. That's how we've grown it. We haven't pushed it at all. And of course, on Clubhouse now you can invite people who follow you. And so every Thursday, I just push the button and say, come on. And every third Thursday, we have a special guest. We've had Joy Hawkins on there. We've had Curtis on there. We've had several other people on there, guest speakers. So that's really how we have grown the Clubhouse following. What about you guys?
I think it's important to do a social media audit, you know, if you're, you know, once a year at least, right? And then to run experiments, test it out, and to give yourself 90 days, 3 months is what I always say, to test something out, see if your audience is there, see if it's gaining traction, see if it's reaching your goals that you want to reach, and try it out because it could be there. But for generally, you know, since I'm multi-stream, you go to all the platforms, but then there's ones that we're looking to grow more than others. So for instance, like YouTube or LinkedIn, because of what our show is focused on. And then Amazon Live is a big one for us as well. I don't necessarily have an audience there, but you can make a lot of money off Amazon Live. So the, you know, kind of pays our way. So I would just continue to test and experiment to see if it is getting traction for you, the kind of traction that you want. So for instance, not everyone here is on Clubhouse, but it's getting you what you need, right? Or
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
right. So
I think that it is about, did you want to go? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm not shy. So I think that it's about really, you know, yes, you can do a sampling and an audience size, and people that have heard me speak before know this. I'm not really in a bunch of data. That's not me. I'm not one that quotes a lot of stats. I think that you can build an audience in the platforms that you go to. So, for example, in 2009, when I decided I was going to start a social media business, I built my entire brand on Twitter. And I just went to Twitter and I found people that wanted to connect and give value no matter where you're at. They come to you, but it does take time and you have to nurture it. That's why you can't like be on TikTok and be on Instagram and be on Facebook and be on all these places at the same time and expect to deliver results. You know, I focus solely on Twitter. Now I had, of course, Facebook and other platforms, and I focus solely on Twitter, and I really built a brand there, which now when I say I have like 30,000 followers on Twitter, that's not a big deal, right? But I built 30,000 followers in 2009 on Twitter by building value and all these kind of things. And so you can find an audience where you go on the platform, but it's what you do with it afterwards that matters, right? And that built my entire business. So for me, that was a lot of success.
Yeah, and there's also no benchmarks on social media, which I think a lot of people really struggle with because they're like, oh, well, how many conversions am I supposed to be, getting, and how many people am I supposed to be reaching, and how many impressions am I supposed to be generating? And your benchmarks are your own data. So you really have to just test, exactly like we said, just testing and making sure that you're producing content for different audiences and seeing what's driving that engagement. And then that's where you land based on that engagement, where your engagement is coming from, what kind of people are asking you what kind of questions, and then using that data and using those questions and using that audience to continuously build and, like I said before, make data-driven decisions.
How many people, they're always like, I want to go viral, right? I want to go viral. Well, you can't just decide you're going to go viral and like create this viral phenomenon. So you have to give it time. I always told people when I started doing their social media, they wanted results in a month. I was like, it takes a minimum of 3 months on pretty much any platform, unless you're lucky, to get results. Now, an author, for some reason, it used to be that if you did an author on Twitter, I could pretty much start selling books from the book pretty quickly, right? But a lot of times, even then, it took 3 months, and that was just you started growing your followers and whatever, and then you start actually reaching your business goals. So you just have to stick to it, whatever you do.
Absolutely.
So, my other question is, we are actually missing somebody on our panel because her husband had heart surgery, but she wasn't able to travel up here. But she's a big blogger, and she's made a lot from her blogging. How many of you blog for your clients or yourself? 50% again. So it's interesting because I do a lot of blogging for my clients, and I just kind of connect the dots, and I do a little circle with the blog post, and then I take part of that blog and I put it on Google Business Profile, and then I link it back to the website, or I link it back to Call Me. I always have an action item for that particular blog, and I just kind of, I think I told you, Lisa, my stats on that one. I measure from, and these are just Google Search Console stats, and from May of 2021 to May of 2022, I doubled the traffic, and we're running about, I think it was around 70,000, somewhere around there. I was at, I think the first year it was about 20,000, so we went to 70,000, but our clicks and I can't remember what the other one was. We tripled how many people just by that small little, I call it small little thing, but it's just connecting the dots. It's doing the blog, it's putting a Google Business Profile, and then putting a call, whatever that call to action is. You might have a product to sell. The customer might have a product to sell, but sell it, buy online or whatever. Google is, especially on Google Business Profile, they're loving the pictures that you're putting on the profile because they're actually showing them in the carousels. So people actually get to see the picture of what you're selling for your client or the client is selling. So it's a huge, if there's anything, I mean, I know there's a lot of great tips today, but if you've got clients on Google Business Profile and they're not using these services or the products page, you better get on it because you're missing the boat on that, because Google is loving those photos on their profiles. So anybody else have questions?
I want to add something to that if you don't mind, Chris.
Please do.
So you mentioned content, right? And talk about that for a second. So I blog for clients, and I put an excerpt of the post, and I put a UTM on it, and I can track goal conversions and all that kind of stuff. But the other thing that happens, so maybe you're looking at the Google Business Profile, you see the views because you have the admin, and you're like 12 views, 6 views, and you're like, you don't necessarily always get a lot of those kind of views, right? But what you do get is you get, my brain just left me, justifications, mentions, people call them different things in the local pack. And it'll say, and they have these justifications to why that listing surfaced. Well, so I have an allergy doctor client. I've been managing him for a long time. And so we did a Google business post on food allergy testing. And I just searched food allergy doctor. And literally in the justification, it says food allergy testing. Well, the only thing on that specific profile, because that wasn't his food allergy focused one, was the blog post that said food allergy testing, where I put the excerpt on the GBP post. But because of that, he was ranking the local pack in the top. I mean, so it's so important to have every component. And even if you don't see a lot of views coming with those posts, put them up. Now make sure you put UTMs on any of your links. You need a UTM so that you can, and if your website's set up properly, because not everybody does that, you can figure your goals properly on your site, then you can say to your client, hey, this Google business profile, this link got you this many goal completions. And that proves to all your clients, those even marketers, why they need to keep paying you.
So, hang on one second, Hank. I'm going to assume that you all know what a UTM is, right? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because we might have some new people in the room that have no clue what a UTM is. And if you're one of those, come ask us, because we're happy to explain it to you. Hank?
To add on to low views and people, companies, agencies being, I guess, disappointed with facts that they're not using well. Looking at your archives, a lot of people always fixate on something new, getting something new out there, developing something new, getting it out there. Right? A lot of people always forget about the archival power. What are some best practices about resurfacing some of that possible evergreen content?
Schedule it. Schedule it. We have posts that have been like, people are like, why are you posting stuff from November? And it's like, because it's a new audience, right? New people have discovered us, new people have found us, and so we just schedule it in, and it's just goes out there, right? And it's in a rotation. So
one of the things that I don't do it as much anymore, but I always did it. This is one of the tips. I actually written a book on Twitter. I'm not trying to name drop. I don't sell them anymore. You can get one if you beg me. But one of the things that I always did is I always told my clients, and I did this for my media clients, is I wrote 100 tips, evergreen tips, right? And I used back then social lump. I don't use it anymore, but you would spin those, like post one every 5 hours, you write 100 of them, if you use social lump and you spin them on Twitter, it'd literally be a month and a half before one repeated, You can use all that green content over and over. You can schedule it. You can use a tool that does a rotating, like Social Lump's still around. It's just a lot more expensive now. But all those kind of tools. Deliver It is a great tool to do that. They have a queue. I love Deliver It. That's a great tool to do it. I also like to RSS feed content, so that RSS feeds the new content. There's a lot of little tricks of the trade. You can also even put them in like a Google Doc or a Word Doc or Excel spreadsheet or whatever, and just keep a column of when you posted it last time and grab it out and recirculate it. I do it all the time with newsletters, honestly. I usually post one new thing and one old thing every time that relates to the topic to continually get that residual traffic.
And you also continue to get evergreen content. So for instance, like Pinterest has like the craziest long tail, like there's articles from like 4 years ago are just resurfacing because it's seasonal, right? So what do you do to manage for your clients, Sarah?
Yeah, I would say just being 100% dedicated to having a full funnel social media advertising strategy. So I tell my clients all of the time, you can't get to the bottom of the funnel without starting at the top. So always including branding, whether it's an organic strategy, it's a paid strategy. Nobody will buy from you if they don't know who you are and why you can relate to them. A lot of people just love to go down to the conversion, lower funnel based advertising strategies, and they forget about that evergreen branding. So making sure that you have that at all times running and posted, on all the social media channels that you're active on, and where your audience is going to be super important. And then just through having that kind of foundation, you'll be constantly reusing content for that evergreen branding, because your brand's your brand. So you can consistently use content all the time here, and then kind of tailor it and make it newer as you go down the funnel a little bit.
And social media gets your customers further down the funnel, gets them further down the funnel, and you're reaching them when they're primed to buy, right?
Mhm.
A lot of times, if y'all do it right, they feel like they know your customer, like they're almost friends. I mean, how many here met somebody at this conference that they've been Facebook friends with a long time? How many, right? I mean, I'm one person.
Two. I saw two hands.
Come on, y'all.
Only two of you?
Come on. Okay, I met Ian Dolan. I've been Facebook friends with him a long time. Saw him last night. I'm like, dude, you're so familiar. He's like, yeah, we're Facebook friends. I mean, I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, and that's just one person. I've met like 6 people here that I've been on Facebook friends for a long time, and I had got to meet him before. And so it's just like that with your customers. They feel like they know the client, and they want to call them when they got a problem or whatever. I mean, that's what it's about.
Any more questions? Yes, sir.
So speaking of funnel, I often come across clients who perhaps have been engaged with us from an SEO perspective for a while, and they want to branch out in social media, and they're very focused on that bottom of the funnel, that conversion,
That last click.
right. How do we reframe things to get that attribution? Not just like teaching them to get the concept. Get a lot of people at the bottom. You're going to have a lot of people at the top to get some people at the bottom. How do you attribute that? How do you graph that? How do you produce data that shows that? Get a lot of people at the top, you get more at the bottom.
So I guess the biggest thing is just looking at your audiences and how you're building them, right? So obviously, how you're optimizing and the objectives that you're choosing to run social media advertising when you're hitting this point of the funnel, the top of the funnel, is going to be very, very different to what you're telling Meta and TikTok's algorithm to do when you reach these people. These people are going to be a very high cost per result because it's a very small group of people. These people are ready to shop with you or engage with you or whatever the bottom result is for your business. Whereas these people, you're going to be generating a ton of results, but it's going to be a very, low cost per result. But then you're going to start to get higher and higher. And the higher cost per result you get on the bottom is actually showing higher intent because you're targeting such a small group of people. And I think that's where a lot of people fail as marketers, is that they're saying, oh, well, we have such a high cost per result at the bottom. When we're running conversion-based advertising, it must not be working. No, it is working. You're going to pay a lot more money for people who are at the bottom of the funnel, and you've already paid for them to even get to that point with you. So if you have, it really just depends on the industry and what you're marketing, but if you have a high cost per result at the bottom of the funnel, that kind of shows that, they are converting with you and you brought them there. So using data in terms of results, I think, is going to be your best bet. And then also just educating clients and educating consumers and saying, if you saw a random business or a random person trying to sell you something on social media, like, I am blowing right past that. If I don't know you, I don't know anything about you. But if you've been following me around my TikTok and my Facebook and my Instagram and even Snapchat, then I'm like, oh, that's you. You're kind of like a friend, like we were saying. I already created that digital handshake with you. So I would be more willing to buy with you than somebody who I've never met digitally before until they're throwing something in my face, an incentive in my face, or a low cost for something in my face. I don't want to shop with them. I want to shop with the people who have been building a relationship with me for months and months, and now I'm ready to convert.
Or they reach you at a time when you're ready to buy. Right. So I've been obsessed with my backyard lately. So I've been trying to find as much as I can, like on Facebook Marketplace. I mean, I can go on Craigslist, but I don't want to be murdered. So I'm going on Facebook Marketplace, right? And I'm searching up like wheelbarrows and sandstone or whatever. And guess what my Facebook feed is all now? It's people doing stonework. It's Mason's Masonry and, DJ's landscaping. And like, I click on their sponsored ad, right? And then it's pops up a chat bot. This is what we do. This is what we want. And as the questions, and I'm already like, I am in 6 sales funnels right now, right? Like, because And I'm ready to buy because I'm like, but if I'd seen that ad or seen that post 6 months ago, I probably would have been like, I don't care, I don't want this, right? But right now I'm obsessed with it. So because I'm searching it, I'm looking for it, I'm hungry for this content and or these businesses, and I'm ready to buy. And guess what? Thousands of dollars of later, I'm a customer, and it's something. But then, you look at social media too. I look at their platform or their profiles or whatever, and I see how they posted recently. Are they still around? Is it still their website? Is it still their location? Especially after COVID, a lot of things have changed, and so you kind of want to keep some content on there so people know that you're breathing and you're alive and you're here and these are your hours and you still exist, and yes, you're still going to show up when you do, and instantly, but that wouldn't have happened if they weren't primed to target me and get me right into the funnel and I was ready to buy.
I'm thinking about what Sarah was saying. And, for example, who here has watched the Holderness family? They're hilarious, right? There's this family, right? They're a hoot. I love watching them. Well, so I always watch and they're now doing little TikToks and reels but they just basically do funny bloopers, right? And so they now have like a line with like some clothing. So I bought a shirt that says ADHD is awesome. I didn't just buy one. I actually bought 3, right? Because that I was in their funnel and they were entertaining me on a regular basis with these funny things that they do. But when it was time to buy something, I was ready to buy. I'm not even married. I'm a divorcee. And I almost wanted to buy their book that they wrote about their marriage because I just am such a fan now. You know what I mean? So, I think that's part of what, Sarah's trying to get across also is it's about, I'm thinking relating to car dealerships, right? So you might have like a funny, if you're doing TikTok, you might have like a funny video that ties to the car, but then you're showing a cool feature in the car as part of the funny video. And then you get them further down the funnel about now maybe it's not as funny, but it's more serious about the car. And then now they're ready to buy because they've been obsessed with this car for so long that's got their attention and it's great, right? Because it was funny when it started.
Okay, so we are rounding out the time that we have on stage, and I have one last question for each one of you. What is one takeaway or piece of advice to share that you haven't shared yet?
So I think my biggest takeaway and piece of advice for marketers is to just really hound in and focus on Generation Z centric advertising, because Generation Z is about to be the largest consumer base in this country. And if you're not creating content and pushing advertising to them that they want to see, they are not a loyal generation of consumers. They know that they have 100 options to buy a cup of coffee and 100 options to buy a shirt, and they can easily go on Amazon and swipe buy now and forget they even bought it 10 minutes ago. So why do they want to shop with you? Branding is going to be so much more important than it's ever been in the past. And I think social media advertising is going to be so much more intricate than it's ever been in the past. So as marketers, educating each other and educating your consumer to say, here's who we are, and spending a ton of time at the top of the funnel. So being at the bottom of the funnel is almost second nature to them because they're already so intricate and so intertwined with your brand.
So I think the one thing relating to the Google Business Profile, because I already kind of gave you all the stuff I love, but I do have something that I did not talk about, and that is that your website, not only the SEO on it influences organic search, but it actually really influences your actual Google Business Profile. Maybe not the local pack ranking as much, but in a way it does. Because like, for example, Google, they literally will go to their website and scrape the services that are on your website if you don't have them on your Google Business Profile and add them, okay? And so your website has a lot of influence in that way with the Google Business Profile. And that, especially to me, ties to your location page that you have on your website. A lot of times people will just have their name, address, and phone number and a map. But for me, it's always about making sure I put all those clients' primary services that they really want to rank for in the local pack on their actual location page, because Google looks at that. And so that's the thing that I think they all really, those of you that are not considering that how much the website, while it also impacts organic, how much it actually influences the Google Business Profile too.
Absolutely. I don't feel like I need to say this in a room full of search marketers, but I will anyway because it's very important. And it's that social media is a tool. It needs to work together with your search strategy, your content strategy, and your social media strategy. And there's a sweet spot in the middle of there that's driving business. But ultimately, what you should be doing is driving business to the two things you own, your email list and your website. And everything that you're doing on social should support those things, right? So you're collecting leads, you're collecting emails, you're collecting, you're driving traffic to your site, and that's where you can, bring them into that sales funnel. And all of these things, your content, your search, your social should support that, the things you own. Because I cannot tell you, I've been in this industry for a very long time, and I've seen people live and die on these algorithms. You wake up, Facebook has changed something, Instagram has changed something, LinkedIn is now, a marketplace. I don't know, right? And like legacies are lost, and it's like you're on rented land. They're not yours. They belong to all these other people. And what you do own are, your website, your email, and everything you do should be supporting that. And I've seen so many people transition from one platform to another because those skills translate, right? Because it's the principles of marketing. It's when you know how to communicate, you know how to get a message, you know how to reach an audience, you know how to be entertaining, you know how to be funny, you know how to educate. That's going to carry over no matter what platform you're on.
I wholeheartedly agree with everything that you guys have said. And, I say this a lot on Clubhouse, and you probably already know this little statement, but Google loves Google. And I know people get tired. I know people get tired of listening to it, especially if you're a marketer. But you know what? Honestly, if you're not using all the platforms on Google, because Google does love Google, and they will perform a lot better for all your clients if you're on all the different platforms. I have seen it with my own eyes, and I push it a lot. To be honest with you, I'm not a super big Google fan, but what else do we have, right? I mean, I know we got Bing, and I know we've got DuckDuckGo, and I don't know.
Don't forget the others.
Yeah, and the others. There's several others, but Google does love Google, so use all the platforms to your client's advantage, because it really truly does help. And I hope that you enjoyed this panel discussion and gained some value from it. So just give us a thumbs up if you did, because that's what I'm going to talk about all day today is thumbs up, because I want to make sure that
I
you
enjoyed
all
my
are
panel.
having
I know,
a
it was
great
fun.
time at this conference. So thank you, ladies.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you being
Thank
here.
you.
We're going to take a short little break and go into the